Okay, all right, here we go. Hello, everyone. Welcome to All In on Real Estate. I'm your host, Erin. I started this meetup because when I was in the military, no one in my circle was talking about real estate. A lot of times, talk about what we call TSP, talk about debt, they talk about other things besides real estate. And I wanted to start a meetup so that people can learn about different niches in real estate and build generational wealth for them and their families. I'm very, very excited for our host today. She's done over $300 million in real estate transactions, and she's just a workaholic. And she has 8 kids, and is a mother, wife, and her biggest investor is her husband. That's a great thing. So Esther, welcome to All In on Real Estate.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Just let everybody know, I just got a fill in my mouth, so I'm not going to be doing a lot of talking. I'm going to let Esther do most of the talking. So just to let you guys know, because my mouth is numb on one side. So Esther, I think that I want to do something a little bit different because I think everybody's know your story for the most part. I mean, you've been on a lot of podcasts this year, and you've been awesome. So let's start a little bit different. And I know your journey about your kids. We'll talk about that later in time. So what are you doing now? What is your transactions now? What are you trying to get into now? And can you talk about that, if you could talk about that gold mine you was talking about?
Yes. Okay, sure. So as many of you know, I started out as a realtor. Started on the residential side, moved to the commercial space about 3.5, 4 years ago. I have to check the date when I got started. But around there, I got started in real estate. I'm a speech language pathologist. So I was doing that until I decided to pivot into something else. Got started as a realtor, then got involved when I started on the residential side, moved to the commercial space. Beginning COVID time, one of my clients had asked me to find him a JV partner for an equity partner for a property that I sold him. And within 2 phone calls within my network, I reached out to, I found him an equity partner. So I was like, wow, this is cool. I should do this. You know, I can do this. I can start raising equity for people. So I started connecting a lot of JV and co-GP sponsors together. And I've raised over 40 million in the last year and a half about. I recently syndicated a deal so those were from JVs and co-GPs. I recently syndicated a deal from LPs. And now I decided to take it a step further and start a private equity fund. So I have my fund, my legal docs are all set up. I'm just working on the portal. So all LP investments are going to go through the fund, and I'm really excited about it. I tell everyone it's my latest hobby. I really enjoy connecting people, whether it's properties or money, or, it has to be done in a legal manner, but I really enjoy it. And this is what I started doing more. I started raising equity more than brokering deals. I still am brokering some deals, especially like sellers that I was representing from before. But now my newest thing is raising equity. And then after that, about last September, my husband started noticing like everything that I'm doing. I mean, he was noticing the whole time, but suddenly he caught the bug, and he's like, all those properties that you send out to everyone, he's like, why don't you send them to me? And now he is my biggest client. So in the last year or so, we have actively been purchasing office, industrial, triple net retail properties. We are in contract on many at the moment. And it's been an amazing year, like nothing I ever expected. So things are moving really fast. So he's purchasing some deals with his partners. I'm not raising for us at the moment. I'm raising for others, kind of like a fund of funds. So that is my latest thing that I'm doing. Short.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome. So I mean, this year, I guess a whirlwind, like you said. I mean, what is some of your highs, and what have you learned the most about this year?
I think I became so much stronger this year because, like I would, I sometimes I guess we have this entitlement that things have to go our way. And, we talked about this a lot, Erin, like things have to work out our way. And I kind of like learned to let things go, with the flow. I kind of if things don't work out, I just kind of learned to like let it go a lot more. Just for example, I'm working on this deal. It's an office building that I'm trying to sell for someone. And it was under contract already twice. And we're talking about a large deal. This is asking price $38 million. So it was under contract, fell out. Under contract again, and the buyer didn't perform, fell out. So this is a nice size commission for me, So number one, I learned not to get excited about a deal, because until the money is in my account, it's not mine and it's not closed. And now, like, whatever is meant to happen is going to happen. If it goes through me, if it doesn't go through me, if it sells, if it doesn't sell, And another deal I was working on for the same seller, that one was a 34 ask. I worked on it for so long. I can't even tell you like how many hours I spent on it. I didn't have exclusive, so it was, but I was direct to the seller and I was in touch with them. He ended up selling it through someone else. And they ended up selling it for, I think it's under contract right now, actually, for 39. Like they got a crazy price. So that was like an upsetting moment when I heard that. Something that I worked on for hours and hours and hours. Like I think I sent it to like a few hundred people. So that was super upsetting. But I try to focus on the good things that work out, and there's so much good in everything. We just have to find it and focus on it. And I'm trying to just enjoy the journey, however it takes me, wherever I go. I'm just trying to enjoy it. I get to meet wonderful people like on these meetups, so that's really nice. And I'm trying to just go with the flow and enjoy it.
So speaking of enjoying it, we've talked many times. How has, and I've seen you doing lately, and I remember us talking about the one you was going to in New York City. How has in-person conferences affected you and your business?
I try to go to as many things as I possibly can. First of all, I'm like a massive extrovert, so I really enjoy going and I like to meet people. It feeds my extrovertness, I guess. Around my kids' schedule, obviously. Like today, there was an amazing event in New York City and I had signed up to go. I was so looking forward to going. And it's my son's birthday tomorrow, his Hebrew birthday. And he's like, it's my birthday. I want to plan a whole trip for the family. He's like, everyone's taking off from school on Thursday. And he gave me this whole plan that I told you guys before about. We're going to Dave & Buster's, we're going to Slurpees. He made this whole schedule. And I'm like, you know what? They deserve it. They earned it. It's his birthday. We're going. So I dropped the events. I didn't go. And I took my kids out for the day. So they're always my priority. But as I'm pretty much like working around my kids. Here and there, I'll go to parties. Not enough, Alicia, but not enough. But here and there, like I'm going soon. Here and there, I go out, but it's generally like my kids and work, and that's what I love doing. So I try to go as much as possible to in-person events. I've been to Rhode Island, I've been to Atlanta, I've been to San Diego. I was last week in Vegas for 2 conferences. I was in Austin right before for a lending conference. I was in New Orleans at the Bigger Pockets event, where I ended up being called onto a panel in front of 1,000+ people. That was pretty cool. Yes, I try to network and make connections and have fun doing that. So I think networking is key to being successful in this business. It's who you know, how you can connect people. It's a massive key. So I highly recommend it, online or offline. Erin, his teeth is hurting. So if anyone else has questions for me,
Well,
Feel free to ask too,
I got something for you.
unless
I got
I
something.
do.
So I do have something to ask you. Like, so with everything you've been doing, like, on meetups like this and things like that, how has that really improved your business? I mean, because I ask that people sometimes that they wonder, like, is going on meetups and the things that you're doing, you be on a Caporation show with Ruben and things like that, has people reached out to you?
Well, for me, everyone is a potential client because I'm raising equity now. So I can, I'm raising right now through my fund. So my minimum is going to be 50,000. It's for people that are accredited investors that have another job, or they want to invest and make cash flow. So for me, technically anyone I speak to is a potential investor. Obviously they have to qualify as an accredited investor. But for me, like, talking to anyone can potentially bring me to the next lead. But yes, every single event that I've gone to, I can say I've had something come out of it, whether it was a connection, like an important connection that led me to something else, or whether it was someone that I met that invited me to the next event that was successful. Like I went to, for example, when I just got started, I went to the New York real estate event expo in Manhattan. Over there, I met one individual who invited me to another event that I had found out about. Over there, I met someone who had invited me to a charity event. That charity event brought me a ton of contacts with, high profile individuals. I'm now friends with past governors and mayors and police commissioners and all that stuff from that event, from that charity that I've gone to. So you never know where your next lead, or who it's going to come from, or where. Yeah. And the event that I just went to in Vegas, I went to this really interesting event. It was like a property exchange, something that I've never seen before. Yeah, I'm working with one person right now that I met at that event, and we're exchanging properties, and hopefully something materializes from that.
Right.
What I do want to say is that not always do you see the immediate result from the interaction or the event or the connection, but eventually it'll pay.
Okay. One more, TJ. I got you. I have more question. I'm gonna open up for attendees because I definitely want to my voice. Time management. Everything you have going on. I mean, every time I talk to you, I'm like, man, I don't know how you do it. How do you manage your time with so much going on? Me and a full-time mom, real estate, wife, everything like that.
That's a good question. I try as much as to delegate as much as possible. It's something hard for me. I'm still learning how to do it. But in terms of my house, I don't touch my house. So if anyone comes over, enjoy the mess. I learned to kind of let go. I can't do everything. So I don't do laundry. I've hardly cooked in the last year just because it's been insanely busy. Yeah, so those things, like, I kind of laid off, and I have help in that sense. So I'm pretty much there for my kids' carpool and homework, and to give them love and to play with them, and then work. So I don't have that part to do. So that's a huge, load off my back. But still, I still have to learn how to delegate. I have a secretary. It's not really working out. She takes a mental day every other day, so it's a little difficult. So I need to find somebody new. I do need more help. That's the truth, because I'm working like a crazy person around the clock. It is a lot, so anyone getting into this business has to know that, it's a lot. It takes a ton of hours, and hours that you're not going to get paid for. You have to be ready to commit that time and put in that effort and put in those hours without expecting to necessarily get paid for those hours, because there's a lot of hours that you're pushing just for the sake of getting out there and making connections that potentially or hopefully, closing a deal or meeting the person, whatever it is. There's a lot of hours that are just going to go, without pay. And anyone getting in has to be ready for that.
That's a great tip right there. That's a great tip. Go ahead, TJ. TJ.
I'm here. Hi, Esther. I have so many questions. I'm just going to try to ask the most important ones because I didn't catch, how you got started or whatever, but I feel like I'm already working kind of in the arena where operate, and I'm trying to maneuver into the exact same space you are. The first thing I asked you is, what do you call yourself when you first started? Would you call yourself like a qualified operator, like of an agreement? What is the term of, where do you situate, or, what's your segment?
That's a really good question. I don't have a specific answer because I'm kind of like going with it, transitioning and doing a lot of things at once. So I started as a realtor. I am a realtor. I am a speech language pathologist. I still have that title, but I'm not currently practicing. I am raising equity right now, co-GPing. I'm starting a fund, so I'm soon going to be a fund manager. And I am an investor. So that's a long answer. How I got started, I'll say it in short. I was working as a speech language pathologist for a very long time. I was living in Brooklyn, New York, and I moved to Rockland County, New York. This transition was very difficult, and speech therapy over here is more complex than it is over there, meaning I have to travel a lot more than I did over there. And I just wasn't up for that. Also, I have a lot of children. I have 8 children, as Erin mentioned before. And I was working with children and then coming home to children. I'm like, I just need a break from children. So I wanted to have more energy for my kids when they come home from school. So working with adults and connecting and networking and, meeting people, that invigorates me and energizes me. So I guess I'm a massive extrovert and I need this. So for me, this fuels me, and I also love what I do. So now I have more patience for my kids because I'm absolutely loving what I'm doing and I'm happier. And I have more patience for them because I'm not dealing with children all day. So for me, it was just a personal thing for me. How I got to real estate, we still don't know. It was like, I wasn't like I had anyone that inspired me or anyone that I could say like directed me to get into real estate. It was really like just me wanting to connect with people. And I figured what better job to get into than this. Everything that transitioned after being a realtor kind of like happened. I never planned on getting into raising equity. That kind of happened when my clients had asked me for that. And I never imagined that I'd be an investor. We were very fortunate that we hosted a charity event at our house. And one of the people that came there, we started talking to, and he is now our partner. So we got very lucky with our partners. And the reason we went into office, industrial, and retail space is just because he had opportunities coming his way that we couldn't refuse. Otherwise, I would have gone into the multifamily space. That was my initial goal. So that's my long answer in short.
Just another question, maybe 2 more, just more. When you say equity raiser, are you someone who not only raises we got raised the equity, and I do want to ask you about what do you mean when you qualify them as a accredited investor? I'll ask you that next though. But when you raise the equity, are you also seeing the deal go through? Like, are you bringing deals to the table, or is that a conflict of interest? Where does your part in the equation start and end?
Right. So what I'm going to be doing through my fund is the deals that I'm raising through the fund. I have to do a lot of homework before. So I hired an underwriter that's going to underwrite the deals because it's my responsibility to bring good deals to my investors. So my underwriter is going to be underwriting the deal, but only after I vet the sponsors. So number one, I like to have a conversation with the sponsors just to see what type of person they are. Number two, I check their track record and I try to find previous investors that had invested with them, to get their opinion, their feedback on that sponsor. And if I like those two, then I'll have my underwriter underwrite the deal and then put it into the portal and start the raise from that. I am setting one up currently, but before I got my fund up, I was a co-GP on a deal in San Antonio, and we syndicated that deal. So I did some work. I do some work on the deal, and I brought in some money, and I always put my own money into every single deal that I raise for. I have to really like the deals. So it's important for the investors to see that. What's an accredited investor? An accredited investor is someone that has $1 million besides for their personal home. And I'm just like blinking for a second. It's $1 million besides for their personal home that they have equity, or that they have 200,000, I believe it is, and
Yeah.
together with their spouse, 300,000, and they made that for the last 2 years, and they plan on making that for another year. They're considered an accredited investor. There are a few more definitions, but those are the two main ones. Yeah, I'm gonna have someone verify that anyone coming in is an accredited investor. And my fund is gonna be 100% transparent. So what I plan on doing is having a bunch of different deals that I'm working on simultaneously, kind of like in a Delaware series LLC. And anyone can choose which one they want to invest in. They can see all the info. It's not a blind pool fund. It's a deal by deal basis. I'm basing the waterfall off the sponsor's waterfall. Everything's going to be clear, transparent, and I'm really excited to get it going. I'm passionate about getting people to invest in real estate and knowing the benefits of investing, what real estate has to offer, all the tax benefits. They can depreciate on your taxes, and you could appreciate on the asset, and you could leverage your money, and you could scale fast. And there's so many more benefits in investing in real estate. You can predict your income and expenses. So it's a more stable investment than, say, the stock market, which is super volatile. So I'm passionate about real estate and getting people to invest in it. So I'm excited to start my fund for that reason.
Last question. Thank you so much for that thorough answer. When we go back, and I'm going back a little bit to the question I asked, where are the deals coming from? Are you bringing those deals to the table, or do you separate yourself from that? And then the last part of that is, where does somebody get training at? And that's why I was asking you what you title yourself, because where do you get training, to get into this area that you're in? And that is all my questions. Thank you for your patience.
Sure. So we're sourcing deals. I'm bringing some deals, and we partnered with someone that had acquired a lot of real estate before. So he has a lot of connections, and he's sourcing deals too. So they're coming in from him and from me. And your second part of your question, sorry, I just blanked.
It was just a training. I was wondering, I was asking, what do you call yourself? Yeah. So where do you get, if you want to train and what it is that you're doing?
Right. Sorry. Long day. My training, I didn't join any membership, any mentorship programs. I'm not affiliated with anyone, like any of these teaching programs. I just started listening to tons of podcasts, reading books, asking tons of questions. Before I started my fund, for example, I spoke to about like 14 SEC attorneys just to get their, opinion, or just to see who I would work with and to ask them lots of questions. So I'm just learning as much as I can. I try to join as many meetups and classes as I can. I don't stop, literally. I don't stop between working and learning. It's never ending. So that's how I just started learning, and I kind of recommend that to people before they join any mentorship programs, because everyone focuses on something else. There's fund memberships, and there's multifamily, there's commercial, there's so many different types. So kind of learn a little bit about everything before diving into what you think you're going to be best at. And sometimes it could be a few things. Like, people are like, why don't you focus on one thing? So I'm like, I don't really know which one to focus on. I'm a little bit ADD maybe. And I'm like, I could, I like them all. I don't know which one to focus on. I don't want to focus on a specific asset or location. I consider myself more of a connector than a specialist in a specific area. But the funds, I had to, learn and become a specialist of that. But I kind of recommend people, when you're joining someone or going into a specific mentorship program, kind of learn everything, a little bit of everything else there is out there before you pick your niche. Does that answer your question?
Yes, and thank you so much. I have to go. I'll definitely get your information from Erin. Would like to connect with you off of this, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Another guest speaker that's going to be in the future, Miss Alicia Milton.
Hi there, Esther. It's always a pleasure to hear you speak. I learned so much. So I know that you said that you needed help. Are you interested in utilizing a virtual assistant, a VA?
I have called someone. I have an eye on someone that I want them to work for me. So I'm like holding off on that. She has another job, so I'm kind of like slowly like presenting the idea to her. I did contact the virtual assistant program, and it was like maybe just the one I called. It was like $50 an hour. I'm like, $50 an hour, I'll hire my own in-person assistant, which I prefer anyway. So I'm eyeing someone. I know I need the assistance, and I know I need to hire her. I'm just waiting for her to kind of be comfortable with it. I did present it to her. I don't want to push it too much yet. She has another job. I don't want to take away from anyone, but she would technically be like a perfect candidate for me. And also I have a website that I got started, and the person that set it up for me isn't managing it. She's also going through a tough divorce or whatever. So I'm like stuck with these people that aren't so helpful at the moment. So I kind of need help with my website. And if this person doesn't go through, then I'll reach out to you regarding a virtual assistant.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I do need
absolutely.
assistance. Yes.
Yeah, for sure. And so how do you know what deals would work for which client? And how do you identify the people that you meet? Do you, and I guess the reason why I asked that question is because you have time wasters, then you have folks that are future business, and then you have, some high net worth individuals that you need to classify them as such. How do you figure out who is in what category?
So sometimes it's hard to know who's in which category. Sometimes I'm surprised. Sometimes I'm very annoyed. A lot of times there are a lot of time wasters. For example, yesterday, someone was pushing to meet with me. So I said, I haven't done like many in-person meetings in a while, but I said, okay, they were in my side of town. I was dropping off my kids in school. I said, okay, I'll meet them at the cafe right after. I get there and he starts like pitching me. He's like in the home health aid business. And he's like, oh, could you find me people, operators? And I have this business and we can make some business. I'm like, I was kind of annoyed initially because I'm like, I'm in commercial real estate. I don't have time for selling, finding you referrals or working for you. That's not what I'm doing. And that's not why I met you. So I was kind of annoyed at that. But then I was already there. So I was just talking to him, and turns out that he has a lot of references that could potentially benefit me. So initially I was annoyed, and I thought it was a time waster, but it turned out not to be. So oftentimes I'm very surprised. I also do, I'm surprised sometimes who comes through, who doesn't come through, and you get to see who's honest, who's not. You get to see it all. Slowly but surely you see it all. And what I have noticed so far is that the people that aren't honest and aren't transparent and are deceiving, they end up losing out. So that shows eventually. I was sold a property to someone, and he owed money to a family member of mine that helped him on that property. And he never paid the guy. And he kept on asking me for more properties. So I said, we need to finish the first transaction before we get on to the next. Like, I'm not moving on to the next transaction with you until we close that chapter. Right. So after a few months, he finally paid the guy because he really wanted one of my properties. But, I'm hesitant to work with him again because he was very difficult. Right. So things show, and not always can we know, and this guy, he has like his father is so wealthy. Like, who would have thought that he would have given me the hardest time? So you never know. That's the answer. You
Right.
just don't know who's going to time and who's going to end up being that, gold mine.
Right. So that's why you said that you talk to everybody. So when you go to like pre-qualify these investors to actually, get in on the deal, do you just send them emails? Because I know the last time I heard you speak, you were using a spreadsheet, which I thought was pretty phenomenal, doing the type of business that you do. Are you pre-qualifying them given you're an agent?
Are you talking about me as an investor, as a realtor, or as a fund manager, almost slash capital
All
raiser?
of all of those,
All of the
because
above.
yeah, yeah. Well, as
I
a realtor, I get because
Yeah.
you have to, and that's that. But more as a capital raiser, equity raiser.
So when I'm connecting GPs together, most of the time these people know the business. They're professionals. They know real estate. They can kind of can see the deal for themselves. They like to underwrite the deal themselves. So oftentimes I kind of like let them lead in that aspect because I'm dealing with professionals versus raising from LPs. These are people that don't necessarily know the business, and they're relying on me kind of to be the one to bring them good deals. Then it's more of my obligation to kind of verify the deal and make sure that it's a reasonable deal and it's appropriate to bring to my investors and it'll bring good returns. I have to kind of do my homework before on those. I do obviously like from LPs because I'm raising money for the benefit of the sponsor. So it's my obligation to make sure that the LPs, they don't know the business so well. I have to make sure that they're putting their money into a good investment.
So my last question is, how do we get like on your list to know what opportunities you have available, and do you have opportunities throughout the country?
Yeah, I work nationwide. I need to get more organized and make like an email blast every so often. I post a lot on social media, so you can definitely see what's going on over there. But I have to get my list and my email blast a little more organized and send something out more often. But I will be doing that. I sent something out recently, actually, of a few deals that I have that need equity, and obviously those have to be. I can only post certain ones. I can't post 5 or 6 of these. So yeah, so only things that I can post I share in public. But I do have, let's say when I have a property that needs equity, an opportunity, I have a list of investors that I send like an initial like teaser to. I send them like a small paragraph. This is the opportunity in short. This is my list of qualified investors that I know are looking to either co-GP, LP, or JV with others. I send them out like a little teaser, and if they like it and they want more info, then we go further into the deal. So that list I can put you on if you're qualified.
Okay.
We
Thank
can
you.
talk about that after.
Absolutely.
Sure. If anyone else is qualified and would like to get on that list, you can let me know.
Thank you.
Sure.
Hey, how you doing, Erin?
Hey, how you doing, man?
All right. I just wanted to let Esther know you got a great mindset. Mindset. You have to have a great mindset to start anything. So yeah, you have a great mindset.
Thank you. I'm trying. I'm working on it. If had I been where I am right now, like 4 years ago, I would never be able to do what I'm doing now back then. Like, I feel like I matured so much since. I mean, I'm an adult, I'm a mature adult, but I feel like I grew so much stronger since I got started. You learn so fast and you grow so fast when you're like thrown in. And also as a woman in the business, it's a male dominated business. However you look at it, like most of these events are male dominating. You learn really fast to like become comfortable with it and to get out there and just do what you have to do. I've been to events that I've been the only woman investor in the room, so that's been a little interesting. But I kind of like just grew so much, and learned to go with just whatever I'm working on and not be worried about everything else. So yes, I did grow a lot.
You being a woman, that can be an advantage too, especially talking to sellers. You gain their trust more than they, give it to us at times. So, you've been a mother, and like I said, that can work as an advantage for you too as well.
I thank you. Yes and no. Sometimes men, like a lot of the men that I deal with, like at first they didn't take me seriously. I'm talking about men that I reached out to. It took them a long time to take me seriously. I kind of had to prove myself. And now they're calling me. Like initially they would like throw me off groups, and they weren't too nice, and at first I got insulted. Now I wouldn't care if anyone did that to me. But it can be an advantage or a disadvantage, depends where you are, which setting. Yeah, but that's
Yeah,
true.
you gotta be creative. I usually leverage my husband.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, my
Claudia,
husband is the biggest introvert, so he doesn't come with me to anywhere. You won't find him on social media. So he's brilliant and he's doing deals and he can speak, and but he's not out there. So he's kind of like behind the scenes, and I'm like all out there. We're totally opposite.
Sounds like me, but I'm steady working my way out of that though, because in this business you need to be, kind of like a people person.
You do, but I always say like some introverts that try to get out there, it could be challenging for them in this business. But at the end of the day, you can be yourself. If you are yourself in an environment and you just like be natural, and don't try to be someone who you're not, like people will like you for who you are. And people like people that are authentic and just being themselves, I think.
absolutely. Greg, I got you, but I always hit my overseas investor. Go ahead, Claudia.
Yes, thank you. So thank you. Oh, thank you for sharing your story, Esther. So my question is more on a personal level. And it's funny because today I took my son to speech therapy, and I see what you're talking about, like, as far as like working with kids. He has a lisp, and so the therapist was like sitting with him and like playing with him, but so involved, so totally see what you're saying with working with children and coming home to children. So my question is like with the family life, like I have two little ones, and you have, your children too, but like that mom guilt of when you're so busy with like real estate, it takes you away, and you know that it's affecting them. Like, how do you, handle that? Because today was very intense for us. I had to drag my two kids to the notary. We were there for like an hour and a half, signing documents. Then I had to drive them around trying to find a overnight FedEx to mail the documents. And so I was like driving with them, they're bored. They're like, Mom, we want to go home. And then finding the location, getting in, trying to figure out how to do it. They're in the office, like the FedEx office, right? I'm trying to figure out how things work, how to send the documents, and my kids are there and they're like, like dying. And I'm like, feel so guilty. And I'm like, okay, I'm doing this for them. But like, what else? Like, how do you cope with that when you're so busy with real estate?
Oh, that's like the never-ending balance, right? It's such a balance. It's hard. There's no right answer really over there, because sometimes you just have to drag those children and take them to places, and you have to do what you have to do, and sometimes they'll learn. They don't like it, but they'll learn. But for me, like, let's say I used to host a lot on the weekends, and I stopped doing that because I'm very busy during the week. So at least on the weekends, I'm like 100% for my kids. I host much less, like once in a while, but now I used to host all the time. I used to throw meals together and host. So I try to give my kids their time so that they don't feel deprived. Let's say now I took them to Dave & Buster's. I drove them. They were sitting and playing. I was sitting on the floor doing work. Like, I only took the older ones. I took from 8 and up. So they're running around on their own. And I'm like sitting at the entrance, so they, like I can watch what's going on. And I'm literally sitting there and doing work. And I even posted something like, those kids are going after their wins while I'm going after my wins at the same time. I'm sitting on the floor watching them and working. Sometimes you have to just like balance and juggle and be creative. But they're all in school, so I try to work as much as possible when they're in school. And once in a while, you know, I join the meetups. You know, sometimes they've joined the meetups too, right? I want to be on it, and they come in. So, you know, the only way that I can do what I want, they can do what they want, is if they hop on. So my kids have joined Aaron's meetup sometimes. But I try as much as possible to prioritize them, because the cool thing about this job, mostly, not always, is that things can wait. Like things can wait, you know, a day or a few hours. I mean, not always. Like if someone's, or if we're closing something and something has to be done emergency, or if we have to go see the property right then we have to arrange for that to happen. But in general, like my email can wait a little bit. Like I'll put them to sleep and then I'll work till 12:01 in the morning. But they're my priority. So I do my best to make it that way. But you're an awesome mom, and it's so, just the fact that you care and it bothers you just shows that you're amazing, and you're doing your best. You can only try your best. And my goal is like just to be calm in front of them, because I feel like that's what they'll remember. Like if mommy is calm, if daddy's calm, they'll know, they'll feel secure. Even if I'm working an extra hour or two, if everyone's happy and everyone's getting along, they'll be fine.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a really good point. Thank you. Thank you.
Sure.
Go ahead, Greg, Mr. Q&A. Greg? Yeah. Okay. Anybody else got any questions for Esther?
Lawrence is on mute if he's trying to say.
I got a question.
Hey Esther, go ahead. Go ahead. Hey Esther, how you doing? Again, thank you for bearing your soul tonight.
Sure.
But you always do that. You know, you're very authentic, and you're always transparent. You know,
Thank you. Appreciate that. I try.
You said something before about the person came to you, they want to start talking about business, right? And you didn't get to know yet. How do you approach people when you're out? Because you said you went to numerous events. How do you lead off into networking with people like that? What are the things what are some of the phrases, words you say to them? Or what do you talk about to start the conversation off?
So the good thing about being on LinkedIn now and being on podcasts is that people come to me and start talking to me. So I don't have to always like sell myself anymore, which is a huge advantage. Like people are like, now I get stopped in the street. I see you on LinkedIn. I see what you're doing. The guy, yesterday, the meeting, his assistant ended up coming. And his assistant is like, wow, you have a bus. I didn't see the bus outside. He tells me I didn't see the bus outside the cafe. So he kind of like follows me on social media. So that was like really funny and also helpful at the same time. So I don't have to like sell myself anymore, because I'm sharing it all on social media and everyone can see it. I'm very like open like that. I share a lot. So so people come to me now. But what do I say when I meet people? I'm trying to think, because it's been a while since I had to like kind of sell myself. But now I'm reaching out to people with the equity. So that's my newest thing. I went to meet an investor the other day. So I was just telling him, you know, how I got along, how I came along to where I am right now and what I'm working on right now. And I went through a bunch of properties with him. And tomorrow we have a call with another sponsor. They'll potentially work together. So, you know, I share what I'm doing. I share like what is, and I try to just, you know, be real about it. I tell them I only got involved in this like a year and a half ago. I haven't been doing this my whole life. I'm new to it. But this is what I've done, and this is what I have, and this is what I'm presenting to you. So it's just facts that I share.
Thank you. Just the facts.
Yes.
I have a question. Hi, Esther. I just trying to understand the relationship that you have with your investors in terms of you bringing them to a deal with sponsors and then what happens subsequently when those same sponsors have another deal? Do they go directly to your investors, or do they come through you? How do you deal with that relationship?
That's a good question, and I think about that a lot. I wouldn't know if anyone went behind me again. Like, I probably wouldn't even know at this point. I hope that they wouldn't. But I could see things happening, and I'm sure things are happening that I don't know of. But at the end of the day, it's all from, it's all from God. At the end of the day, like, if someone wants to deceive you or fool you, or there's nothing you can do. You kind of like move on to the next thing, or go on or try the next thing. You can never like be busy trying to figure out who's conspiring against you. Just think forward, move forward, and try to be the best that you are. Keep on going, instead of, obviously, try to protect yourself as much as possible. You sign NDAs, you sign agreements as much as possible, but those can always be NDAs can be disputed, and I don't know how much validity they hold. But you do your best, and the rest you just have to hope and pray and continue working hard. I don't know if there's a clear answer to that. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does, but I do understand the dilemma that you speak of, because you just would not know. So I guess you really have to just deal with it and move forward if it does happen.
Well, one of the reasons I'm starting my fund is that when I place money into other people's deals, they kind of don't see who my investors are. It goes through the fund, and the money is transferring to their deal. So they don't know who my investors are. So that was another reason of starting a fund. I could bring money to other people's deals, and I can sort of hold on, so to say, to my investors.
Yeah, I got that. Thanks.
Yes, let go and let God, 100%. It's interesting, like I'm Jewish, and we say like on the Jewish New Year, which is Rosh Hashanah, that God determines how much you're going to make that year. On that day, we really pray very hard, and God's determining on the new year, the Jewish New Year, how much someone's going to make, that year. So whatever is destined to be yours is going to be yours. Whatever is not destined to be yours won't be yours. You can work as hard as you want, and if something doesn't work out, it wasn't meant to be yours. So that's how I learned to see things. And that's how I have to live my life, because otherwise I'd be so upset so many times if things weren't working out to my advantage, like how I thought it was supposed to work out. And sometimes we don't know, there's a bigger picture out there, and we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. Sometimes one thing that didn't work out was meant to not work out so that the bigger thing can work out for you. So we don't know what God is conspiring around us, so to say. And we just have to do our best and keep moving forward and keep believing. And you got to keep trying. You can't just sit back and say, hey, the money is going to come to me, and this deal is going to come to me, and have that abundant mindset and visualize and all these mantras. You could do all that, but you have to actually go out and work. But at the same time, you have to have that mindset of, not everything is going to work out. And if it doesn't, it's okay. And things will happen along the way that I won't always understand, but there's a bigger picture out there. And I'm talking about all this, like my husband has been like instrumental in like teaching me all this. I have to give him credit, because I wouldn't have the strong mindset without him. So yeah, there's so much to learn, and we started reading books, and you can read the Power of Now. It was super helpful in transforming the way I think, by Eckhart Tolle. He has The Power of Now and A New Earth, like super inspiring books. And listening to like podcasts that have people that talk about their mindset. It's a real thing. Like, you have to work on your mind to be able to be successful, and to let abundance flow your way. Abundance won't flow your way if you're tight and if you're running after that dollar. Or, you have to have like an open mindset and open your arms to the good things that are going to come, because if you work hard and you believe and you're honest and you're transparent, then good things will come your way. So I believe.
Yeah, that's something I practice too. I listen to excuse me, I listen to YouTube, very positive, podcasts that feed my mind, you know what I mean? Positive things, because that's what it is, what it is about, you feed your mind good things, you know what I mean? Instead of sitting back, letting your mind run and race and thinking about the past. So abundance.
100%. And I also have to add that, giving back to others, whether it's teaching or, doing a good deed for someone else or helping them financially. It's, first of all, it's a beautiful thing, but I always feel like anytime I give without expecting to get in return, I get in return. So the more you give, the more you put out there, the more you help, things will come back. Like when I initially got involved in real estate, I just started writing about, professionals or, people that are doing really well in the business. I started writing for a magazine and I'd interview people like without getting paid. And I'd actually have to pay to put those articles in sometimes. And I just started doing that just to highlight other people's success and see what I could do to help the next person. Now I established a relationship with those people without intending to, and the things are coming back to me. So, and also like our biggest partner came from a charity that we hosted. So that was like the biggest eye-opening thing that we had. We were giving to others. We offered our house. We had a charity event on our brand new deck that we had just built. That was the first event that we had on the deck. And at that event, we met our partner. So it was so clear to us that when you give someone else, you get back in return. Like we saw it openly. It was pretty amazing. So I really believe in that. Like just go out, you do good for someone else. It doesn't have to be money related. It could be like helping an old woman cross the street, or just offering advice to someone. Like if people call me for real estate advice, I don't charge anyone. I'm happy to share, happy to give, happy to teach them what I know. Like any small good deed that you do, it's always going to come back. If you don't, not always will you see it immediately, but if you give, you get.
Indeed, indeed.
Shoot more questions, guys. Come on.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say, I don't have a question. I'm gonna say, whew, Esther, you on fire.
No, thank you. I see you're shaking your head.
Yeah, listen, you know what? What you're saying is so true. It's all about mindset. You got the best business plans there is, but if your attitude sucks, nobody's gonna want your business, want to be around you, because nobody does the business with people who have a different mindset, who think about don't have abundance mindset. They're scared to let go of things. They're scared to help
Scarcity
people.
mindset.
Yeah, scarcity mindset. Because I'm from this, you can't keep it if you don't give it away.
Yeah.
You never keep it. It's like you having a cast in your leg, atrophy. You got to work that muscle. If you don't work the giving part of it, you're gonna lose what you have. You're not gonna have nothing. I just want to say that's all I got to say. I'm done.
I have a question.
Sure.
Hi, Esther.
Hi.
This is Rhonda. I just wanted to ask a question. How do you stay so beautiful? One. And then two, what's the exit plan? How long are you in here for? Is this something you have a goal in mind, or is this just you're gonna ride it all the way out? I know the children are definitely gonna be mini Esthers.
First of all, thank you. Second of all, I love the question. I'll tell you why I love the question. When people ask me, like, what is your goal? I say I have no goal. I don't like that question. I mean, I love your question that you asked, that you prompted, but when people ask me what my goal is, I'm like, I don't have a goal. If someone would have asked me 5 years ago, where do you want to see yourself in 5 years? I would have never answered where I am right now. I would never even have imagined it. Like, so there it goes again, the abundance mindset, you know, for someone to say, oh, in 5 years, I want to have X amount of money. I want to have X amount of deals closed. First of all, don't limit it. Don't limit it, right? You want to, you never know what can happen in 5 years. And also, like, who knows and who cares really? Because is your happiness dependent on that number of deals closing? Is your happiness dependent on having X amount of dollars? No. If you're waiting for that, you're not going to be happy. You have to be happy and be present in the moment. Learn to be happy no matter what, because there's no end to how much money you can have, and there's no end to how much money, to how much money you want, or to how many deals you want to have under your belt. You have to learn how to live now, how to be present now, and enjoy the journey. So when anyone asks me what my goal is, I'm reaching for the moon, and I'm having fun along the way.
Yeah, I concur. I don't roll on goals neither. I'm a dreamer, I'm a visionary, and I go at it. And I was, here I am at 66 almost, and I'm like, oh my, okay. As long as my body is going at it and I'm on mine, I'm cool with it. So I just thought I'd ask that question. I'm not a goal setter. I like to live my life in the moment. I have a relationship with God, and that is my ultimate life is to please, is to ensure that we're walking in partnership as we are, and the relationship is there. So I get, the guidance, the instructions, the way I'm going. And with that, because he's given me power, authority, dominance to govern, to manage, I take on that authority. I'm the one who makes sure that when we have these talks, that I'm tapping into on those things that I want.
Right.
So thank you.
Sure, you're doing great. You're doing really great. That's amazing. That's nice to hear. And so long as you're on this earth and intact, it's another day to do a good deed and to reach your dreams. Yeah, when I say have fun in the process and enjoy the process, you still have to actively try and actively do things. You have to make yourself like a vessel in order to bring that blessing in. So yeah, personally, I'm also like a high achiever, I guess, like an ultra achiever. I like to attain goals. So I'm a very goal oriented person. I like to be challenged. So for me, starting a fund is, like I say, it's a hobby. It really is. Like I'm enjoying the challenge of it, and the challenge of going out to find investors and find deals. I like it. I like that hard challenge part of it. So for me, I actually really enjoy it. So I guess that helps with my success. Like I like to achieve the next thing, but that's something I enjoy.
Yes.
I don't stop.
There you go.
Yeah.
Hey, Esther.
Hi.
Hey, good to see you again.
Likewise.
So I missed part of it, but I caught enough that I know what you're talking about, which is great. I like your story, and yeah, like Erin said, I have no idea how you do it, but if I had half your energy, I'd do so many things.
I can do it. You can do it.
True. That's very inspirational. Yeah. So very inspirational. Quick, my question is, right, with regard to starting your fund, what were some of the layers that you had to get set up in order to start your fund? You mentioned talking to SEC to SEC lawyers. What else are there as part of step in the process so that you can, first of all, make sure that everything is done on up and right legally, not just you think it's legal, just that you're not going to go to prison legal, and also legally in a way that of course then you're building the trust of those who are entrusting their fund with you.
Yeah, first of all, I'd recommend just learning all about the fund, because you have to, even if you have an attorney, you need to know what the rules are. You need to know if it's a 506B or C. You have to be aware of all of that. So you have to have that knowledge too, besides for just having an attorney. So there are a lot of books out there. I read Kim Lisa Taylor's book, you know, how to raise, I forgot the exact title, how to raise money legally.
Yeah.
You yeah, so read as much as you can. I listen to a lot of podcasts about funds. Bridget Pennington and Hunter Thompson talk a lot about it. There's so many kinds of funds, so you have to like hone in and see which one you're doing and which one works for you. That's what I really recommend. And to answer how I do it all, coffee, wine, and chocolate. That's the answer.
That's cool.
A lot of coffee. I had a massive cup of coffee right before because I was falling asleep, really. Like I was out with my kids from the morning. So, and I have a long night ahead of me. Yeah, so a lot of coffee. I wish I had more natural energy.
Oh, that's awesome. And earlier you also you mentioned I guess making the connections, and I recently went to my first conference, and I'm glad I actually went, and I'm looking forward to some more. And how important is it that you follow up with some of these folks that you actually meet during the conferences, and follow up within a reasonable time frame and establish a rapport with them?
Oh gosh, you're saying that, and I still haven't followed up with the people that I went to the last 2 weeks. I have a ton of business cards from Austin and from Vegas. I literally did not have time to even like put those cards in yet, because I was in Austin and then Vegas and came home. My dad had surgery and with the kids and just catching up on work. I still didn't even follow up with those. So I'm like, well, thinking of that as you're saying that. But once I do put the information in, I send them an email or a message saying, you know, it was so nice to meet you at this and this event. You know, if we spoke, then I'll follow up on what we spoke about, or, you know, stay in touch, or nice to meet you, or, you know. So generally people that I have business cards are the ones that I spoke to. So, so we're just following up on an email. I always do my best to follow up. I have yet to do that, but I try to follow up with everyone. But my problem is now that I have so many people in my network that it's becoming challenging to follow up with everyone, you know, on a general basis. Obviously, if I'm dealing on a deal, then I'll follow up on that specific deal. But it's it does become challenging, like the bigger you become, like the more you're out there and more connections you have and the more contacts you have. So it's a challenge, but I try my best.
Awesome. Thank you. And with quick thing, I've also as of last that weekend, I actually have the digital business card, and I'm gonna finish setting it up. But
Yeah.
it was great because I was able to actually quickly pass my information to others and sync theirs and mine. And I see that Desmond wrote a question right here. It says, is the fund in a holding company? Desmond.
1 second. So I see some private messages. Sorry, I wasn't really looking. If the fund is in a holding company, yeah, I've created an LLC with my attorney, and yeah, have it. It's going to be in an LLC. Is that your question?
Yes, is it a holding company and then the LLCs go under it?
I think, yeah, I think so. Like we have an LLC for every SPV that we're doing. My attorney is kind of drafting it, so I have to, you know, see what he's doing exactly. But we're about to put it all together. He has all the docs. And
So the funds are raised in a holding company and then it's a LLC created after
I believe so.
for each deal. Okay.
Yes. My fund is going to be called Rises Opportunities. And then under each one, we have an LLC.
Thank you. Great.
Yeah, it's my first time doing a fund. So I'm like one of the reasons I chose the attorney that I did was because he took the time to explain everything to me. And because I'm doing it for the first time, I really need to understand everything I'm doing. So that was one of the reasons I went with that attorney, because he actually took the time to explain things to me, and he still has yet to catch up and let me know more things. So I'm learning as I go. I don't know if I missed any personal messages. I wasn't really looking fully, but thanks for the compliments. I appreciate it.
You got a lot of love on here. That's a lot of love, and thank you so much. I know you gotta run. Like you said, you got a whole night in front of you, but thank you so much for being here. You dropped so many gems. I don't know where I got a long night ahead of me trying to find some good, like a good minute of gems. You spent so many, so thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on, and I'm happy to connect with anyone or help in any way that I can. Feel free to reach out.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I wanted the month for women to go out with a bang, and who better than Esther to be that person. So thank you so much, Esther, for everything.
Taking a picture. I mean, it's not going to come out clear on my phone, but if anyone wants to screenshot it.
You can do a Zoom me, right.
I'm not techie. Anyone techie here that can do it? I don't know how to do it.
Okay, here we go. Everybody smile. Des, where you at, Des? Everybody come on camera. All right, smile. Who's coming up? Okay. Okay, one more time again. Very good.
I can't even close my mouth, man. I can't even close my mouth.
Very cool. All right, guys. Thanks a bunch. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.